Good morning, everybody. Oh, Jeremy's in the wings, and he's probably going like, "Are we doing this today?"
Are they coming? They forgot. It's Friday.
Oh my goodness. We had some pretty important meetings yesterday, and so Jim's mom works for a law firm in town, and they had an extra office, so we came down and set all the equipment up here because they were replacing her roof. Yeah. And it was like bam, 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 bam. I mean, it was so we had to commute. What?
Yeah, yeah. Like a mile and a half or something.
Yeah, so we left everything here last night.
It's not a very big town. This is a town I grew up in.
Well, but you get two people at the stop sign, and it's like, oh, we're cutting time here.
Yeah,
I mean, we're gonna
we have to run somebody over.
Yeah. up how fast you're going today, honey. Yeah. So welcome everybody. Happy Friday.
That's right.
Yeah, it is Friday.
Another week
winding down, and it is the first Friday of December, which means 23 more days left for shopping.
Look at you doing math already.
I know. Let's talk about math, honey. And I think this is it'll probably be a pretty big shopping week. I used to work in the service industry as a server and a bartender, and the weekends in December were nuts. They were, at the retail stores, it was pretty busy, but everybody was coming in at lunch. Everybody was coming in at lunch.
A little more difficult because we're hearing everybody's short on personnel, right? So
so it might be a little bit harder of a year this year. So,
if you're listening in this morning, say hello. Tell us where you're listening from. I see Tommy's joining us from sunny and cold Pennsylvania. He says, so welcome, Tommy. We got to make time to catch up.
Yeah, we do.
And we can bring Jeremy anytime.
We have a special guest, and we talked. When we spoke to y'all on Wednesday, we were like, not sure if he's coming, but we're hoping. And so we applied a little bit of peer pressure.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
But you know what? He was game.
That. No, he's a busy guy. He's got a ton of responsibility right now. So let's bring in Jeremy Beck, who's the new Director of Dealer Development with NIADA. And
Good morning.
Hey, how are y'all?
Oh, good. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. It is not as cold as PA here in Texas, but we did have a cold front come through, and it's down into the 40s, so that's not something we're used to very much in Dallas, Texas. So, but it's a nice change.
I remember the year. I have a friend that lives in that area, and I remember the year. It was like 2 or 3 years ago when you guys had that massive freeze, power going out everywhere, and
that was last year. Yeah, we called it Snowmageddon. So because Dallas or Texas just doesn't see that, and it was -5, -4, -5 for about 2 or 3 days, and then in the single digits for another 3 or 4 days, and it was crazy. But talk about small blessings, right? So one of my wife and I and our kids, we moved into a new house about 5 years ago. And it's literally 0.6 miles from our old house, which I would never recommend to anybody to move 0.6 miles away, because you think you can make it really simple and do it yourself, and it becomes a disaster. But that's neither here nor there. But what we found out during Snowmageddon is that this house is on the exact same power grid as the hospital. So we didn't lose power. Yeah. Everybody across the street from us, like our neighbors and our friends, a couple streets down, they lost power, and we're sitting. So we had people bundled up over at our house, and it was crazy. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we when the hurricane came through the Tampa area, the building that we were living in was on the hospital power grid as well, and so everyone who lived there said, "Hey, as long as it doesn't get too bad, you're not going to lose power."
Yeah,
like, nice. We weren't there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Hopefully you weren't there.
Yeah. We I want to talk about the weather for just a minute more. Can we talk about the weather? We check the weather every single morning, and we compare the weather of where we're at to the weather.
I don't do that. I don't put myself
me, myself, and we and then we compare that to the weather in Tampa, and it's just
wonder
we're going back, right?
Tampa, right?
Yeah. Well, family. sorry.
I'm like, Michelle, keep that to yourself. I don't need to know that.
Well, and it's just like an affirmation of we're going back.
Yeah. I think that's what she's doing. That's what she's doing.
Yeah. Well, we have FIADA actually on the 10th, so we'll be back before that.
In
So
Florida. Yep.
yeah, it'll help an awful lot.
And we're not at liberty to share any details yet, but we're working hard on some stuff that when we succeed at that, it's going to be to the benefit of all the associations out there. So we're excited about what's happening, and we're just bringing together some partners and and kind of trying to lay out some runway so we can do some big projects.
We're talking business now.
Oh, apparently, yeah.
We're off weather.
Yeah.
I mean, I was still like, my mind was still thinking about beaches and warm stuff, but okay, we can get to work now.
Well,
all right.
Well, and it's not all going to be work. I got to ask Jeremy about jalapeno strips. We don't have to talk about that right now, but I got to find out at some point, Jeremy, about what you know about Texas jalapeno strips. So,
all right, let's talk about it.
Okay. So here's why I bring it up. This is important. I think our audience really wants to know because they'll likely visit the Texas. And I lived in Sherman, Texas for about 12 years.
You did.
And I know you spent a lot of time up there. You worked with a dealer group that was in Denison and Sherman, Texas, right? So it seems likely to me that you visited an establishment called City Limits.
I didn't just visits, probably a little bit on the lower
end
of the spectrum on how much time I spent.
So you were on the frequent flyer club.
Yes, that might have been.
That's a fun.
I was there before they actually got remodeled.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if that was. I introduced Michelle. We went by one time, stayed up in our trailer.
A year or so ago.
In our RV, we stayed up at Eisenhower Park and came down and introduced Michelle to
jalapeno strips.
Jalapeno strips, and I just can't say that I've ever had better jalapeno strips than I had.
I didn't know it was a thing.
Yeah.
It's definitely a thing, and City Limits is known and has some of the best jalapeno strips around. I mean, you can get some really good ones down in the South and down in San Antonio and down in the Valley. They're probably a little bit more authentic, but City Limits, for as far north in Texas as it is, City Limits has probably some of the best around. They also have some of the best burgers, some of the best cheese fries. I mean, pretty much, I haven't really found much there in my very few visits there that I didn't like on their menu.
Right.
Their
and
chicken fried
beer.
steak is and their chicken fried steak is something else.
They're bound to owe us some sort of
kickback. We don't take referral rewards from vendors within our space, but we will from restaurants.
We will accept free jalapeno strips
or smoked old fashions or any of that kind of stuff. So
smoked old fashions.
Oh, we had the option.
Did you have some in Austin when you were there?
Yes.
All right, good.
Well, it was kind of no. When we were there we had an old fashioned at the bar there at the convention.
I think what we're
center
finding is Michelle went out some evening that I didn't know about.
Let's not talk about that. But here in little old Guyman, Oklahoma, Jim's mom took us. They have this place that on Wednesdays you can go in and get $4 glasses of wine from all the bottles that were open from the last week. And so we went there. I didn't have wine. They did a pretty decent smoked old fashioned in small town Guyman, Oklahoma. So
it's nice.
It was beautiful. So now can we talk about business?
Yeah, I'll reach out to you when I head to San Antonio so I can get the tips on the authentic jalapeno strips down there. But we can talk by
as long as I can join you.
Of course. I mean, anyone who would enjoy a good smoked old fashioned or jalapeno strips or good queso.
Yeah, queso is another one that we like to try.
Let us know and we'll join, or we'll just put the.
Yeah, I know. I am getting hungry.
So
he's thinking, how far is it to City Limits from lunch or for lunch?
37 miles.
He's counting. Yeah.
So for y'all to know, we have extended an invitation to Jeremy as the spokesperson of all things NIADA to join us every first Friday of the month, and just to kind of give us an update on what's happening on Capitol Hill, what are the things that the NIADA is working on, and just to kind of keep everybody really abreast. It's one extra way for the word to get out, and so we're really happy to have him here. Yeah. I certainly the times we've had you on the show, you're fun. So
we always
like, oh great, Jeremy's gonna come.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Michelle, it's a great thing.
I don't know that you can have bad fun. Well, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think you probably can.
Well, and here's my definition of fun is if you make me laugh a lot, we're like best buds. We're gonna.
Right. My thinking on this is if folks are listening to this and they were thinking about NIADA and thinking about that membership, they can see. Come join us at the conference. We're gonna have fun.
Oh yeah, we have a lot.
Exactly.
We're gonna learn a few things, and we're gonna.
I can assure you of one thing. I love to have fun. You can mix business and fun together, and one of the things that I've been working with the teams over at NIADA is to ensure that we have that even when we're talking business, that you can have fun talking business, because we all love this business. So if you love it, it makes it really easy to have fun and to enjoy, whether you're in a meeting, whether you're at a convention, or whether you're having a conversation like this, you gotta have fun talking about this stuff and doing this stuff every single day. So I'm with you, Michelle.
I agree. Agreed. And it makes meetings so much more enjoyable. Then
absolutely
a little bit.
We got a hello from George Spad in Tampa. He has had a journey north and returned to sunny Florida.
And I did see, George, that hurricane season was officially over yesterday. Yeah. So good for you. I know tornado season's not over for these parts, but
for these parts up here.
Well, there was like we're back on weather.
Yeah.
Northern Oklahoma and the Kansas City and the Tornado Valley area. It's not quite over yet, but
okay. So NIADA, it's the beginning of we're just wrapping up the year, and so highlights of the things that have happened and that everyone needs to really make sure that they are aware of for this year.
It has been a fast-paced year, certainly. I think for everybody, but certainly at NIADA, we have been able to do so much this year. We have big plans for next year. Just a quick recap. On the things that we focused on this year. Obviously, we went through kind of a reorganization with our teams and with our staff to really better align them to be able to really focus on the tranches of how we support our dealers, from our vendor partners, from our membership teams, from the state associations. We have been working to get even closer, work closer with the state associations this year. It's one of Bob's, our CEO's, big initiatives is to really work close with the states and really support the state associations as an extension of the National Association. So we spent a lot of time and went to tons of state association conventions, presented there, talked to them about the things that we're seeing on the national level. Then we obviously had our June convention, the largest convention since 2018, which is huge. It was back in Vegas this year. Everybody wanted to be back in Vegas. So it was back in Vegas, and we'll be back in Vegas in 2023. I'll talk about that here in just a second. Our policy conference was a little bit different this year because Capitol Hill was still locked down. So we weren't able to do the traditional meetings up on the Hill. But what we did do is we had the FTC come speak to us. We had Director Chopra from the CFPB come speak with us. And so, Brett Scott and Christina Perez, our legislative affairs team, have done a remarkable job building relationships up there. And then, where I last saw y'all, we had Buy Here, Pay Here Super Forum in Austin that, again, had the largest dealer attendance since 2018. So we really focused on, and I think we found and struck the right accord of making sure that those educational sessions, the plenary sessions, that where we could and where it was appropriate, we had dealers on stage. Because it's one thing to hear from people like me, right? Or from people that, from our national partners, and we all have great insights to give and things to say, but to be able to hear the practicality of what we're talking about from a dealer on how they actually put it into practice in their stores is a completely different deal. So we got a lot of really good feedback on how many dealers we had on stage at the Super Forum, and we're going to continue that trend. flipping back to the legislative affairs standpoint, we did work with NADA and a lot of the other associations, and I'm not going to say that we were responsible for it, but we were certainly lobbying for it to get an extension in the safeguards rule to June 9th, which is huge. What I would do if I was everybody listening on the call today is not wait till June 9th don't take this extension. Yeah, don't take this extension for granted. Get out there and make sure that you're in compliance with the CFPB or with the safeguards rule, because when they give extensions, they're going to be less lenient on the enforcement of it when it does go into effect. So
December's a really good month for a lot of dealerships to do that, because it's usually a slower month.
That's a great point. That's a great point, Michelle, because it is a slower month.
Yeah, and not all parts of the regulation were extended. I think there's still some parts that are going into effect immediately.
Yep, there are still some parts. The majority of it was extended. You still obviously have to comply with the original safeguard rule, which are the parts that were not extended. So the original safeguards rule, you do still have to make sure that you comply with, that you have a compliance officer, that you're safeguarding all of your data, that you have a security plan. It's the electronic and the multi-factor authentication procedures that were actually extended, because that does require a little bit more implementation from an IT perspective, from infrastructure. So those were extended. But again, don't take that for granted. Reach out. Use the slow months, December and January, to really get yourself prepared, because you don't want to be caught doing that in the middle of tax season.
So
and I would say one of the things too, Jeremy, that you don't necessarily know about what we do is I've been a big proponent of trying to help dealers and buy here, pay here create more tangible value in their business, because we have that problem in this space. We don't see a lot of dealers being able to exit without just kind of a liquidation scenario. And so it's been kind of a project of mine, and we've done some podcasts with Brent Carmichael and others to kind of help start that conversation. And we've spoken to some people recently who are in the business of mergers and acquisitions, and they share that, compliance is going to be one of the first things at the top of the list to make sure for your business to be translatable and have value. We got to cross those T's.
You're absolutely correct. When you go through that valuation period, right, and you go through and you're looking at either a succession plan or you're looking at mergers and acquisitions, that is one of the very first things that any consultant or any investment company is going to look through. Is they're going to see, what are your compliance strategies? Are you adhering to the federal guidelines, not just right now, but in the past? Because if through that merger and acquisition, if they accept your liability, right, which sometimes they do, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, but if they get your liability, then they need to know what they're going to be on the hook for, to be able to reserve for down the road in the event that a lawsuit comes.
So sooner the better. Sooner the better. Sooner the better. Yeah.
And then I think to really kind of close out the year, one of the exciting things that happened, I believe it was last week, is that we got the catalytic converter legislation entered into the Senate. So it is going to be
nationally.
Nationally. So it is going through the process right now. We put a press release out about it. Again, Brett Scott was instrumental in having communications and really pushing that. It had already been entered into the on the House side, but it had not on the Senate side. So it is in the process of being entered in on the Senate side, and I think the two bills are going to marry each other, pretty similarly. So there's not going to be a lot of negotiation, I think, going back and forth. And so once that happens, then obviously that protects dealers, that protects so many people with the catalytic converter theft.
Can you give me a quick top few points about what this legislation will do?
Yeah, so I don't know all of the details about the legislation right now, because we're still trying to get some of the details. But ultimately, you can go on to NIADA.com and look at press releases, and you can see Brett's press release about the legislation itself. But ultimately, it is obviously to prevent and to provide more security to not just auto dealerships and service repair facilities, but also more punishment for those that are caught with catalytic converter theft. Okay. So I encourage everybody to. I think the majority of our probably audience understands, what that is, or why catalytic converter theft is such a burden, I think, to our business. But I encourage you certainly to get involved and to get with your senators, your local senators, your state senators, and encourage them to continue to push and to vote for this when it does come up for a vote on the floor.
Yeah,
very nice. Yeah,
good. I see news articles come out every once in a while.
All the time.
Yeah. And like big rings or whatever that have been shut down.
There was just one shut down in New York. I mean, I have Google alerts set up on my email, and one of them is for catalytic converter. And I was looking through them this morning, and there was another ring that was busted in New York. So it's crazy that you think about a part that's really not that big. That how much theft there is and how much value there is out on that part itself because of the components. It's crazy.
And my suggestion for dealers to put rattlesnakes on their parking lots after hours, really, the idea hasn't caught on. It hasn't worked.
Talking about compliance and liability and mergers and acquisitions.
Rattlesnakes work really. I've seen a lot of fun memes about different things that you can put on a catalytic, even doing a GPS somehow on your catalytic converter, and frankly, until I joined this space, I had never heard the word before. I had no idea what it was, and I think most people, that aren't really car savvy, it's like, I don't know what that is, but apparently it's important, because you can't run a car without one, kind of thing.
You absolutely can. Well, I mean, you can. It's just not gonna perform very well.
It's going to show a lot of junk in the atmosphere. So
it's going to throw a ton of junk and emissions into the atmosphere for sure.
So go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so 2022 has been just a real formative year for the National Association. I'm certainly excited to be a member of the association and be on staff of the association. And 2023 is going to be huge. We have set some huge priorities for ourselves to grow our membership, to further support our states, to continue to grow our 20 group program, which is doing phenomenal with the 3 moderators that we have from the 20 group standpoint. You're going to see, something big coming on January 3rd from the association that's going to be able to help dealers build value. I can't give it all to you, but I can tell you that it's coming on January 3rd to help you build value and to attract additional customers. You got the convention coming up in June, and we are deep into if I had 20 meetings on it this week, I probably had 100 meetings on convention this week.
Oh, wow.
We are deep into the planning of it. Those of you who are listening, the request for speakers is up. Registration is open. It's going to be at the Wynn Las Vegas, which is one of the best resorts, on the Strip. And our negotiated rate, I still can't believe this. So whoever negotiated this, Devin, who's our meetings director, I think did a phenomenal job. Our negotiated room rate is $174 a night at the Wynn.
Wow.
When was the last time you saw that? But we got some
way to go, Devin.
Yeah.
There you go. Devin did an amazing job.
Devin on the show.
But we got some really big things planned for the convention this year, and I think you're going to see you're going to see a little bit of a refresh of it. And our goal is to get over 1,500 unique dealers there. And we're going to get there.
Find unique dealers.
So a unique dealer means that so we're only counting one person from a dealer.
Okay.
So if 5 people come, we're not going to count them. We're counting it as obviously an attendee, but we want 1,000 to 1,500 unique individual dealers there. And so we're going to get there. We're going to have the largest exhibit hall we've ever had. So I mean, it's going to be, we're going to have a huge exhibit hall. This is going to be a show you're not going to want to miss from an educational standpoint, from an exhibitor standpoint, from a fun standpoint. We're going to have a lot of fun built into it. So, get the word out there now, go register, take advantage of the early bird registrations, because it's going to be a show you don't want to miss for sure.
Yeah, and I don't
Sounds
know
pretty
how
good.
many unique dealers we can bring you. We can bring you some odd or unusual dealers. Certainly can. We know a few of those.
Look, in the world we live in today, that word is unique, not
Okay.
odd.
Oh, got it.
That's the correct, politically correct.
I understand. But some of the dealers might know who I'm talking about.
Or they might wait, are you talking about me?
Are you talking about me? Wait a minute.
But I think we could also substitute the word fun. We have
Fun.
some fun
Well,
dealers.
There you go.
If you make me laugh, then
where else do you want to be if you're a fun dealer than Vegas, right?
Absolutely.
Which, by the way, we need to look at the calendar and see when the first Friday is in January.
Oh, I think it'll be after.
Sound like it'll have an announcement coming.
Let me just take a quick peek.
She's going to actually look it up.
I'm actually going to look it up.
So the first Friday in January falls.
First Friday will be the 6th.
It will be. So your big announcement will happen before, so we can talk about it.
So we will talk about it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Tommy Brandis, I identify as unique.
Yeah. I'm glad you owned it, Tommy. You were certainly one of the people that was in my head. So
that's greatness.
That's good.
Very nice.
Yeah. Well, it's part of Buy Here Pay Here's, entrepreneurship and just kind of carving out and those dealers. I mean, I say it all the time. These dealers are some of the bravest entrepreneurs we know. They're out there trying to provide a solution for folks who, don't have a lot of options. And so it's just the nature of, what we do in Buy Here, Pay Here. And so we're really grateful and look forward to continuing to work with NIADA on all the stuff Buy Here, Pay Here. That's where we live. Obviously, NIADA also serves independent retail dealers. And I would just say, as dealers go into December and you're sitting there looking at your budget in 23, make sure you've got your state association, on that list of payables, and get that membership current and support what they're doing and go to the events. And I would say also, Michelle and I love to hear from the state associations. If the states have an event coming up, we'd love to hear from you. Mm-hmm. We'd love to have you on the show. And some of these dealers might not have an association in their state, and we'd also love to hear from you about that. We're happy to work with the association to try to help, build more unique dealers around that association.
You bring up a really good point, Jim. One of the things that we have been working with a lot of the states. So we got New Hampshire to affiliate with the New Hampshire Independent Auto Dealers Association to affiliate with NIADA. We're working right now in Kentucky to establish Kentucky IADA. And so we're working in those states where there aren't either there isn't an active association or there's not one at all. We're working at either marrying those with other states nearby or establishing, a state association within those states. So there's a lot. That's a great point that we're working on a lot of different fronts from that perspective to enhance, obviously the influence of the national and the states associations together.
And we're aware that Kentucky is working on that. And I know that through our Facebook connections and other social media circles, I've not met him, but I know Miles Stevenson is somebody that's very much a part of that. And we'd love to extend the invitation to have Miles and any others that are out there working to bring that together. We just picked up a client in Kentucky, so we'll make sure they know.
And they're unique.
Yeah.
They're unique.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's a lot of opportunity. There's we know there's a lot of good stuff happening, and we know the state. For those who are listening who might not know, that when a dealer joins their state association, provided there's the affiliation there, that includes their national membership. Am I right?
It does. And it's pretty much for all. I think there's one or two states out there that we'll have on board by the end of I think, Q1, Q2, if I remember correctly. But almost all of the states out there, if you do join your state association, you're automatically joining. There's Jared. You're automatically joining the national association. So the part of your membership dues, it's not an additional expenditure on top of it. Part of your state dues also pay for your national membership.
Yeah. Sure. And I just want to, we say this frequently, or we have in the past, but I just want to reiterate that, there's a lot of really great options out there for education, for 20 groups, for, all of the different things, conferences, all of the stuff. There's really great options out there for dealers to learn and to grow. But there is one thing that the state and national organizations can do that no one else can, and that is to be your voice on Capitol Hill.
Sure.
And so if that is the only reason why you join your state or national organization, that money is well spent, because it's, there's a lot of dealers out there that aren't members, and it's like they're out there lobbying for all dealers, not just members, but all dealers. And so if there's anything else, that's the reason to join.
You are absolutely correct. That was one of Bob's big initiatives as he came in and CEO a couple of years ago, was to really focus on the advocacy arm of the association.
Yeah.
And it is a massive part of what we do with the association. I think every time you and I've been together, I have mentioned Brett Scott and Christina Perez, who are our legislative affairs team, because they're that vital to the association and to everyday operations within the dealership.
And I don't think that's something that people that really understand is how expensive it is to do that, to be a voice on Capitol. It is not something that I can just throw on a dress and go up there and knock on someone's door and say, "Hey, I want to be the voice of murmur."
Yeah.
It takes funding, it takes support. And
you would be considered unique at that point.
Right.
I would be thrown out.
As they throw you out, yes.
So, but I mean, I think that is something.
I'll let you say that, Jim, not me.
Yeah, it's he's safe. Yeah. But that is something that I think that is not understood, is about really how expensive that is, and that's one of the reasons why. NIADA also has so many different things that are revenue generators, is to be able to help support that as well.
You're absolutely correct. I mean, I think it's important for everybody to understand we are at the heart of who we are. We're a nonprofit. We're what's considered a 503c6, which is a nonprofit association, not a charity, but a nonprofit association. But it takes funds to do all the things that we do. It takes membership dues. It takes 20 groups. It takes, so many of the different things, the national corporate partners, for us to be able to have the money to go and advocate and to do things like what we were able to do with, getting an extension, working to get an extension for the FTC safeguards rule, to be able to push for the catalytic converter theft, to be able to do a lot of the different things and to kill some of the legislations that impact dealers, on a day-to-day basis. We've got to be able to have the funds to be able to go and do that. And so supporting the association, being a member of the association, attending those events, like you said, as well as donating to the PAC, allows us to really be able to have the funds to go and have that strong voice. Look, we have quarterly meetings with the CFPB and the FTC. There's very few associations that do. We're one of them that do. We're part of the Chamber 100. So we're the top 100 associations and businesses in the country. We are at the table with that of those meetings. I think Bob has a Chamber 100 meeting this week, or at the beginning of next week. And it's really, that's where we're able to understand, how do we collectively go in as automotive associations, and how do we go in and have a stronger voice? How do we go in where it's unique to buy here, pay here dealers or independent dealers? Because there are a lot of times it's that what is good for us is different for what's good for NADA. But we partner with them, and it takes a lot of capital to be able to do that. And to your point, Michelle, it's probably one of the most important things we do as an association.
Amen.
Right.
Amen.
So we see it, we know that dealers could go themselves to Washington and try to be a voice.
Like Michelle.
But but you've also just got, Brett and Christina and NIADA are already in the buildings, already in the meetings. So it's better to work through your associations, get involved in your local association, make sure and express your concerns there. And you've got a voice, already through your national association and state. So yeah, we definitely see the value of that, and we want to continue to urge dealers to get involved in that at every chance.
Well, I think we're going to kind of wrap up.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, Jeremy, for joining us. I'm looking forward to next month, where we get to have like a little bit of a breakdown of the big announcement that's coming a couple of days before our next show. And just wish everybody a fantastic weekend. Friday. It is Friday. It's collection payday too. So for all of you out there, it'll be a busy day. ACH has changed that a little bit, but so we hope y'all, it will just be a busy day. And then tomorrow's gonna be busy too, because we have Christmas shopping to do. And
and you're up in Oklahoma.
I will be on Amazon.
Okay, let's say I don't know. You said you're in Diamond, Oklahoma.
Oh, Guyman.
Yeah. I don't know that there's a ton of stores for you to go shopping at, Michelle.
We can buy some Western wear.
There's a Walmart. Western wear or something. It'd be kind of fun. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks, and we will catch you all on Monday. And so have a fantastic weekend. Jeremy, stick around. We'll talk to you after the show.
Perfect.